You work 60 hours a week. You show up early, stay late, say yes when others say no. You follow the rules. You sacrifice your time, your energy, your health, for the job, for the team, for the promise of someday. And yet somehow you're stuck watching someone else rise higher, faster, someone who cuts corners, talks more than they work, knows the right people but lacks your skills. And you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? But maybe that's not the right question. Maybe the real question is, what lie have I been living? You know that feeling when you're lying in bed after another brutal day, and you remember that guy from college who just got his 3rd promotion this year. The same guy who used to copy your homework and somehow stumbled through every group project? Yeah, that feeling. It's not jealousy, it's cognitive dissonance. Your brain trying to process why the math isn't adding up. From the moment you could understand language, you were taught a simple equation that would govern your entire life. Hard work equals reward. Effort equals outcome. Be good, follow the rules, and life will eventually be fair. Your parents believed it. They worked themselves to exhaustion believing someday would come. Your teachers preached it with religious fervor. Your first boss promised that dedication would be noticed, that loyalty would be rewarded. Keep your head down and good things will happen, they said. And honestly, you bought it completely. Because what's the alternative? If hard work doesn't lead somewhere, if being good doesn't guarantee anything, then what's the point of, well, anything? So you became that person, the dependable one, the one who shows up when others flake, the one who actually reads the entire email before responding. Wild concept, right? The one who fixes problems you didn't create, volunteers for the projects no one else wants, takes on extra shifts without complaining. You became addicted to being needed, to being the reliable one, to being indispensable. Because if you're indispensable, surely you're valuable. If you're valuable, surely you'll be rewarded. If you're rewarded, surely all this sacrifice will have been worth it. It's like being in a relationship where you keep giving more, hoping they'll finally see your value. Except the they is an entire economic system, and spoiler alert, it's not that into you. But here's what no one told you. Virtue without power is just organized suffering with better PR. You've been living inside what I call a beautiful prison, one so carefully constructed that questioning it feels like betrayal, not just of your values, but of yourself. Because if hard work doesn't lead to reward, if being good doesn't guarantee recognition, then what was all that sacrifice for? What were all those late nights, missed dinners, and times you said yes when every fiber of your being wanted to say no? That discomfort you feel when you see mediocrity rewarded while excellence is overlooked? That's not cynicism. That's your BS detector finally coming online. That's your mind beginning to see the gap between what you were promised and what actually happens. That frustration when you watch someone with half your experience get promoted because they fit the culture better. Translation: they play golf with the right people. That's not bitterness. That's clarity beginning to emerge. That bone-deep exhaustion at the end of another week where you gave everything and got a thanks for your hard work email in return. That's not weakness. That's your soul trying to slide you a note that says, "Yo, we need to talk." The system didn't break. You're just finally seeing how it was designed to work. And the design is brilliant in its cruelty. It takes your best qualities and turns them into chains. Then convinces you those chains are badges of honor. But chains are still chains, even when they're gold-plated and come with a world's best employee mug. Let's be brutally honest about something everyone knows but no one wants to say out loud. The hardest working people in society, construction workers who wake up at 4 a.m, nurses pulling 12-hour shifts while patients literally shit on them, figuratively and sometimes literally, delivery drivers keeping your Amazon addiction alive, teachers trying to educate kids while parents blame them for everything. These are the same people living paycheck to paycheck, choosing between gas and groceries, watching their retirement dreams evaporate faster than water in the desert. Meanwhile, that crypto bro on TikTok who can't spell definitely correctly is making more in a week than a teacher earns in a year. That influencer hawking weight loss tea, which is basically expensive laxatives, is pulling down more than a nurse saves lives for. A hedge fund manager who literally adds nothing to the world, makes more in an hour than that construction worker will see in a lifetime. This isn't a bug in the system. This is the system. This isn't capitalism having a bad day. This is capitalism working exactly as intended. Because here's the thing nobody tells you. While labor builds the world, labor doesn't control it. The people making real money aren't the ones solving actual problems or creating genuine value. They're operating in a completely different game, the game of leverage, perception, and control. They don't just work, they position, they network. They understand something you were never taught, that the world runs on influence, not effort. This is where philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche comes in clutch. Dude was writing in the 1800s, but was basically calling out the game before anyone realized it was being played. He identified two competing moral systems that shape how we see the world. First, master morality. This comes from a position of strength. It celebrates power, creativity, the will to shape your environment. It doesn't wait for permission or beg for recognition. It says, I create value, therefore I deserve rewards. I shape my world, therefore I control my destiny. Then there's slave morality. This emerges when people can't compete directly for power, so they do something psychologically brilliant. They flip the entire script. They claim that suffering is noble, that serving is superior to leading, that enduring without complaint is somehow spiritually elevated. Slave morality says, I am good because I suffer. I am righteous because I serve. My pain proves my worth. And here's the trap that's caught millions of good people. Once this becomes the dominant cultural narrative, it becomes sacred, untouchable. You can't question it without seeming like a terrible person. This is how we ended up glorifying the employee who never complains, always says yes, puts everyone else first. We turned self-sacrifice into a virtue while completely ignoring who benefits from that sacrifice. Think about it for a second. Who actually wins when you work overtime for free? Who profits when you don't negotiate your salary because money isn't everything? Who benefits when you're too polite to demand what you're worth? Spoiler, it's not you. You're not rewarded for your morality. You're pacified by it. You get just enough recognition to keep you hoping, but never enough power to change anything. It's like being fed breadcrumbs while others feast at the table you're serving. The real currency, ownership, control, influence, the ability to set the rules instead of just following them, that stays carefully out of reach. And here's the most messed up part. You're taught to feel guilty for wanting more. Ambition becomes selfish. Pursuing wealth becomes corrupt. Seeking power becomes morally suspect. You're convinced that good people don't think about these things. Good people just work hard and trust the system. But plot twist, the system was never designed to take care of you. It was designed to extract value from you. And it's doing a pretty damn good job. But if this whole thing is so obviously rigged, why do millions of smart, capable people still buy into it? Why do you still believe it, even when every day provides fresh evidence that it's nonsense? Because the alternative is absolutely terrifying. Admitting the truth means confronting a reality so uncomfortable that most people would rather live in denial than deal with it. It's like finding out your entire relationship was based on lies, except the relationship is with society itself. If hard work doesn't guarantee success, if being good doesn't lead to recognition, if the world isn't fundamentally fair, then nothing you were taught makes sense. Every late night was pointless. Every sacrifice was wasted. Every time you bit your tongue when you should have spoken up. Every time you said yes when you meant no. Every time you put everyone else first. All of it was for nothing. That's not just disappointing. That's identity destroying. Because if you're not the good employee, the dependable one, the moral worker, then who the hell are you? Psychologists call this the just world fallacy. The belief that the world is inherently fair, that good things happen to good people, that effort equals outcome. It's basically the participation trophy of philosophical frameworks. It's a comforting lie. It helps us sleep at night. It gives meaning to suffering, but it's still a lie. And clinging to it in a world that operates on completely different principles isn't just naive, it's actively harmful to your future. Because while you're staying late fixing other people's mistakes, someone else is learning the actual rules of the game. While you're saying yes to every request because that's what good people do, someone else is building networks, studying power dynamics, figuring out how to make the system work for them. You think you're being moral, They're being strategic, and guess which approach wins? But the real cost isn't just missed promotions or stagnant salaries. The real cost is the slow, systematic erosion of your agency, your power to choose, your ability to direct your own life. Every day you wait for fairness is another day someone else is creating unfair advantages. Every week you hope to be noticed is another week someone else is becoming impossible to ignore. Every month you trust the process is another month someone else is becoming the process. You've been taught to trust the ladder, climb it faithfully, rung by rung, and eventually you'll reach the top. Meanwhile, they're learning to build their own elevator. Or better yet, they're buying the whole damn building. The system doesn't just fail to reward hard work, it uses your belief in fairness to keep you exactly where you are. Because people who believe justice is coming don't rebel. They don't demand change. They keep working, keep hoping, keep waiting for their turn. But here's the thing about turns in a rigged game. They never come. And perhaps the cruelest irony of all, while you're exhausting yourself trying to prove your worth to a system that doesn't value you, you're missing opportunities to build something that actually could. You're so busy being the perfect employee that you never become the entrepreneur. So focused on impressing your boss that you never become your own boss. It's like spending your entire life practicing for a game where the other team writes the rules, controls the referees, and changes the score whenever they want. At some point, you've got to ask, why am I still playing this game? So what do you do once you've seen behind the curtain? Once you realize that waiting to be rewarded for your obedience isn't just ineffective, it's actively self-destructive? You don't throw away your morals and become some Gordon Gekko wannabe. You don't start stepping on people or manipulating your way to the top. That's not the answer. And frankly, it's not who you are. But you do stop treating your morals like they're a business strategy. This is where most people get it wrong when they first wake up to how things actually work. They think the only choice is between being a victim or being a villain, between getting screwed or screwing others, between being naive or being cynical. But that's a false choice designed to keep you trapped. Nietzsche wasn't telling people to become assholes when he critiqued slave morality. He was saying, stop confusing submission with virtue. Stop mistaking your conditioning for your character. His solution wasn't to destroy morality, but to transcend the morality of weakness, to become what he called the Übermensch, not some fascist fantasy, but a fully self-directed person. Someone who creates their own values instead of just inheriting them. Someone who shapes circumstances instead of just adapting to them. Think about the people you actually admire, not the Instagram influencers or LinkedIn thought leaders, but the people whose lives genuinely inspire you. The entrepreneur who walked away from corporate security to build something meaningful. The artist who spent years creating in obscurity rather than selling out for quick fame. The inventor who risked everything on an idea everyone said was impossible. What separates them isn't luck or connections or even talent. It's mindset. They stopped asking, when will someone notice my worth? And started asking, why am I giving other people the power to determine my value? That shift, from external validation to internal authority, from waiting to creating, from hoping to building, that's the way out of the beautiful prison. But here's the catch. It requires confronting something most people spend their whole lives avoiding. The terrifying, liberating truth that you are 100% responsible for your own life. Not 50%, not 80%, not mostly, except for the stuff I can't control. 100%. True strength isn't about dominating others. It's about authoring your own existence, about writing a life that serves your deepest values, not the values someone else handed you to keep you compliant. This isn't about becoming selfish. It's about becoming sovereign, about serving from strength instead of weakness, about choosing your commitments instead of having them chosen for you. The difference between a slave and a master isn't cruelty, it's choice. The slave does what they must. The master does what they choose, and they choose based on their own vision of what creates real value in the world. But here's what's crucial. This choice is available to everyone. It's not reserved for people with trust funds or Ivy League degrees. It doesn't require special connections or lucky breaks. It requires one thing, your willingness to stop waiting for permission to live the life you actually want. Alright, so you've seen the Matrix. You understand the game is rigged. You're ready to stop playing by rules designed to keep you in place. But what does that actually look like on a Tuesday morning when you still have bills to pay and a boss who thinks urgent means, I just thought of this? Let's get practical. First thing, understand the difference between being kind and being a pushover. Strategic kindness. Kindness that comes from choice, not fear. That's actually powerful. It's the difference between helping because you want to and helping because you're afraid they won't like you if you don't. You don't have to say yes to every request just to prove you're a good person. You don't have to volunteer for every thankless project just to feel valuable. You say yes when it aligns with your goals, your values, your vision of what you're building. Because here's something they don't teach in corporate training. Not every job deserves your loyalty. Not every boss deserves your trust. Not every opportunity deserves your time. You need to become someone who can tell the difference between what serves you and what uses you. Someone who can recognize when a situation stopped being beneficial and has the courage to bounce. Walking away isn't failure. Sometimes it's the smartest thing you can do. Sometimes leaving what everyone else thinks you should want is the first step toward finding what you actually do want. Now, let's talk about building your escape plan, because you can't just rage quit your life without having something to land on. Step 1. Figure out what you actually want. Before you can escape the rat race, you need to know where you're running to. And I mean really know. Not what looks good on Instagram or what your parents wanted for you, but what gets you excited to wake up in the morning. When's the last time you sat in complete silence, no phone, no music, no distractions, and asked yourself, if I could design my life from scratch, with zero concern for what anyone else would think, what would it look like? What kind of work would energize you instead of draining you? What kind of relationships would you choose? Where would you live? How would you spend your time? What would you create? Most people can't answer these questions because they've spent so long adapting to other people's expectations that they've lost touch with their own desires. It's like having GPS coordinates for someone else's destination. Take time to figure out your actual coordinates. Write them down, make them specific, make them real. Step 2. Audit your current life and be ruthless about it. Track how you actually spend your time for a full week. Not how you think you spend it, or how you wish you spent it, how you actually spend it. Track your energy levels too. Notice when you feel alive and when you feel like you're slowly dying inside. Then ask yourself, how much of my time goes toward things that actually matter to me? How much of my energy builds someone else's dream instead of my own? Which relationships and commitments energize me versus drain me? What am I saying yes to that I should be saying no to? What am I avoiding that I know I should be pursuing? Be honest. Be specific. Be absolutely ruthless in your assessment. This isn't about judgment, it's about clarity. Step 3. Build your foundation while you're still trapped. You can't just walk away from a system without having something to walk toward. Freedom requires foundation. Independence requires income. You need to build your escape route while you're still using the system's resources. Start developing skills that matter in the real economy. Learn how to market and sell. Everything is sales, whether you like it or not. Master digital tools and platforms. The future is digital, like it or not. Understand money, how it works, how to invest it, how to make it multiply. Build communication skills that actually persuade people. Study emerging trends and technologies. Create multiple income streams while you still have job security. Freelance or consult in your expertise area. Create digital products or online courses. Build affiliate income streams. Invest in assets that generate passive income. Start a side business that could eventually replace your salary. The goal isn't to get rich quick. That's lottery thinking. The goal is to reduce your dependence on any single income source, especially ones controlled by people who don't have your best interests at heart. Step 4. Learn to navigate politics without losing your soul. Like it or not, everything is political. Your workplace is political. Your industry is political. The economy is political. You can either learn to navigate these dynamics consciously, or you can keep getting blindsided by them. In your current job, focus on high-impact, visible projects instead of just working harder. Build relationships with decision-makers, not just your immediate supervisor. Document your wins and communicate them clearly. Learn to negotiate like a grown-up. Hint, it's not about being aggressive. Set boundaries around your time and energy. In your industry, Build a network beyond your current company. Establish expertise through writing, speaking, or teaching. Stay informed about trends and opportunities. Position yourself as someone who creates value, not just follows orders. For your personal brand, develop a clear, compelling professional identity. Create content that demonstrates your expertise. Build an online presence that attracts opportunities. Cultivate relationships with people who inspire and challenge you. Step 5. Understand power and stop being afraid of it. Power isn't evil. Money isn't the root of all evil. Influence isn't inherently corrupt. These are tools, like a knife. You can use it to cut vegetables or hurt people. The tool isn't the problem. The intention behind it is. Different types of power you need to develop. Personal power, self-discipline, emotional intelligence, clear thinking. Economic power, financial resources, investment knowledge, income generation. Social power, relationships, reputation, influence, networks. Creative power, ability to solve problems, generate ideas, build solutions. Spiritual power, connection to purpose and meaning beyond yourself. Use power to create value for yourself and others. Real power comes from making people's lives better while making your own life better. It's about solving actual problems, not just extracting wealth. Step 6. Execute your transition without burning everything down. Once you've built your foundation, you can start transitioning from dependence to independence. This usually isn't a dramatic movie moment. It's a gradual shift over months or years. Reduce dependencies. Lower your fixed expenses so you need less income to survive. Build emergency savings that give you negotiating power. Develop skills valuable across multiple industries. Create income sources independent of any single employer. Increase options. Apply for jobs that actually excite you, not just ones that pay bills. Explore entrepreneurial opportunities. Consider unconventional career paths. Build relationships with people living the life you want. Make the transition when you're ready, when your foundation is solid and your options are real. Choose from strength, not desperation. Move towards something you want, not just away from something you hate. Step 7. Build systems that actually serve you. The end game isn't just escaping systems that exploit you, it's creating systems that serve your values and the people you care about. If you start a business, structure it so it can grow without consuming your entire existence. Build systems that create value even when you're not actively grinding. Learn to invest wisely. Make your money work for you instead of just working for money. Understand compound interest, real estate, and equity investments. Surround yourself with people who support your growth, not just your compliance. Build relationships based on mutual respect and shared values, not just convenience or obligation. Use your freedom to contribute something meaningful. Find ways to serve others that also serve your deepest needs and values. The goal isn't just personal success, it's conscious success. Success that creates value instead of extracting it. Success that serves your authentic self, not just your ego. Success that makes the world a little better while making your life dramatically better. Look, if you grew up believing that hard work alone is enough, that staying loyal guarantees reward, that virtue is automatically recognized, this might be tough to hear. But you're at a crossroads right now. You can keep waiting for the world to notice your sacrifice. Keep believing that someday the system will magically become fair. Keep playing a game where you don't even know the real rules. Or you can wake up to what's actually happening. See the system for what it is, not broken, but working exactly as designed. Just not designed for you. You can learn how the game really works, master it, and when the rules stop serving you, write new ones. The choice isn't between being good and being powerful. That's a fake dilemma designed to keep good people powerless. The real choice is between being unconscious and being awake. Between letting life happen to you and learning to happen to life. Between being an extra in someone else's movie and becoming the director of your own. You don't have to become ruthless or manipulative, but you do have to become conscious, strategic, responsible for your own power, your own direction, your own worth. Because here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. The world doesn't owe you fairness. Your employer doesn't owe you loyalty. The system doesn't owe you recognition. but you owe yourself something infinitely more valuable: agency. The agency to choose, the agency to create, the agency to build a life that serves your deepest values while meeting your real-world needs. You've already proven you're good enough through years of sacrifice and service. The question now is whether you're conscious enough to stop waiting for permission to live the life you actually want. Whether you're brave enough to stop asking the world to validate your worth and start creating something so valuable that validation becomes irrelevant. That transformation, from servant to author, from follower to creator, from believer in someday to architect of today, that's not just personal change. That's revolution. That's liberation. That's the difference between existing and actually living. The beautiful prison was always unlocked. The door was never really closed. You just had to realize the lock was an illusion. The chains were optional, and the key was in your hands the whole time. You just had to be willing to use it. The time for waiting is over. The time for choosing has begun. What will you choose? Remember, every successful person in history stopped asking for permission and started taking responsibility. Your success story begins the moment you stop building other people's dreams and start constructing your own.